Hi, this is Kevin, and this is the first of my tutorials on EZU. And it's a tutorial on how to start the project. So before you do the first assignment for EZU, which is the model assignment, you're going to want to play this. There's a version of this for Windows 10, which is what you're watching now. There's one for Mac OS. If you're a Mac OS user, you're in the wrong spot. Stop this. Go find the other video. Here's what we're going to do in this video. We're going to work with a tool that I haven't really even talked about yet. It's called Sqlite Studio, and it is a database administration tool for the kind of lightweight relational database called Sqlite, or as some people call it, SQLite, that we're going to be using with Django. And it allows you to see what's in the database, the structure of the database, the contents, and all that kind of stuff. And while we're working, it's really helpful to go out and peek and see what we've actually pushed out to the database. So here we're going to download, install, and take a tour of that tool. So you have that to use for the rest of the semester. We're going to create a proper virtual environment for the EZU project. Okay, and we're going to do that with Anaconda. We're going to establish the EZU project. Normally, we could do that all within Pycharm. Unfortunately, here in early February 2021, that feature of Pycharm is currently broken. So if we create a new Django project in Pycharm, it's got some problems. So we're going to do that at the command line, and then we're going to configure it with Pycharm. And from there on in, you ought to be able to work through Pycharm. We're going to create the tester super user that I expect you to have in all your projects to help me navigate your project and grade it. We're going to do that with manage.py within Pycharm. And then as a way of kind of testing out all these tools together, we're going to go back and work with Sqlite Studio and look at the database and see how to find the entry for the tester user that we just added. Okay, that's what we're doing. Let's get started. Okay, so here, let's say, here we're in my Windows 10 virtual machine. Some of the directory paths that I'm going to be using are probably different from yours if you're using Windows 10 proper. Okay, but the actions I'm taking are all, I think you can follow those pretty well. So I'm going to open a browser. I happen to like Chrome, and I have it installed on this machine. And so I'm going to search for Sqlite Studio, 2 words, and here it is. So I'm going to go to the link for that, and promises to download. Okay, that looks good. All right, and it downloaded pretty quickly. So now I'm going to click to the right of the download. I guess this is a little different in all of the browsers. I'm going to say show in folder, and it takes me to downloads, and you can see that I have a zipped up file with um, the install parts for Sqlite Studio. And now what I'm going to do is I'm going to expand that. I know there are people who just simply double click on these and try to open them and to navigate them within the Windows 10 environment, but that's not what I want to do. So I'm going to hit escape. So I'm going to right click on this. I'm going to say I want to extract all. Okay. And where does it want to go? I think the best place to extract this is to your C drive. Now, the exact path in order to get to the C drive of my virtual machine might be a little bit different on mine than yours. Yours is probably just going to begin C : blah, blah, blah. But I'm going to browse and try to find my C drive. So I'm going to click on this PC and local disk C. Double click on that. And this is a good place to put it. So it's going to put it on my C drive. I'm not going to put it in program files or any place like that, just on the C drive. And I'm going to say select the folder. And okay, so my path is probably the same as it will be for you. C : backslash. And then I'm going to click on extract. And shouldn't take too long. And there we go. And then you can see that it's here on the, you can see that it's here in the directory. So I'm going to double click on the directory that we have now populated for Sqlite Studio and open it. And I'm going to go down and find the program that is executable. And it is called Sqlite Studio. Its type is application. And it has what's supposed to look like a disk drive icon. Now, do I want to run that right away? No, I'd rather create a shortcut for it. So let's right click and say send to desktop. Okay, and over here to the left, there's now a shortcut for Sqlite Studio. And that's all I'm going to need for now. Okay, so I'm going to close the browsers and all that. So let's bring that up. Okay, and I'm going to choose American English because that's what I speak. And now it got started. Okay, so so that looks good. So I downloaded it, I installed it. Let's take a tour. So what are we going to take a tour of? I'm going to take a tour of the Django Girls database that we created and used in our first two coding assignments. Okay, and I'm just going to pause here so I can find mine, and I'll be right back. So I found the project that I used for the first coding assignments, and it is way down in my file system here. So here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to hide that now that I found my way. Okay, so over here on the left in the navigation panel, I'm going to right click and go to pick database, add a database. Okay, and I'm going to call mine Django Girls DB. Okay, and now I have to go over and click on the file folder so I can find it. Okay, and mine was in users, my username, Django course projects, the name that we used to hand this in, trainer Kevin, blah, blah, blah. Double click on that. And then inside I can see the DB file. That's what I want to highlight. And I want to open it. And I can test the connection. Yeah, I got a green check mark. That's good. And I can click on OK. That's good. And you can see I have a DB SQLite 3. Normally, I think you would have the name that we chose, but I'm not seeing that. So let's open that up. Okay. And one of the things that is interesting about the databases that we get, the relational databases that are out in the database management system when we're working with Django projects, is that the tables don't just have their plain table name. They always have a prefix, and the prefix is the name of the app that owns that table. Okay, so the one that we created is in the blog app. So, and it is for the it's for the table called post. Okay, and so instead of just being called post, it's called blog underscore post. So I'm going to go there and I'm going to double click. All right, and you can see, I can see the structure of the database. So here are all the files. Here are all the fields that we had for post. I can click and I can see the data. Here's the data for my posts. Okay, so here's the primary key. Here's the title. Here's the text. Here's the created date. Here's the published date. And I think the author is out here too. And here's the author ID. Pretty cool. Okay. So that's where all that data went. And the app that we use in order to log in, like when we create users and when we log in, the app is called auth, A-U-T-H. And so there's a table called auth user. So let's just pick that and double click on that. And you'll see that there is a table for users, and it's got things like the password, the last login, the username, the first name, blah, 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 all this stuff. The last name, I don't know why those two are not together. But, okay, we've got that. And let's just click on data. And we can see that we already have one entry in this Django Girls database. And the first thing, the password is encrypted, so you can't read it. And here's the tester super user that I created for Django Girls. It's right here in the database. So all the important data for our Django app is stored in the database, right? Including the user, the user and the password for the user, including all the test data that we put into the database. And it turns out that database is part of our project. So that's pretty good stuff, right? So we're going to close this for now, okay? And I just want to come back and see what have we done so far. Well, we've done everything that we're going to do for now for Sqlite Studio. So let's create a virtual end for EZU. All right, how are we going to do that? Well, let's open Anaconda Navigator. I have a link for that down in the taskbar. So that's going to open. Okay. And Anaconda Navigator is a little bit of a slow opener, but here it goes. And I'm going to go up to the top left and click on Environments. Okay, and you can see that I've got the base. We don't really want to use the base because the base is chock full of packages that we're not going to use, right? That's why it's really the best thing when you're working with Django to create a separate virtual end for either every project that you're going to do or maybe a series of related projects. In this case, we're going to create one just for EZU. So we're going to go down to the bottom here and click on Create. And the name of this new environment is going to be E4 underscore and then just lowercase EZU. E4 EZU. And for right now in the current semester, we're using Python 3.8. That's fine. So we're going to click on the Create button. And you can see the work going on down here. And you can also see where the files for that virtual env are being kept. So if I click off of this and go back to base, it's going to load the base. Okay, but if we look down here in the lower right window, when we click on EZU, then we'll see it copying the files and you'll see the directory that they're in. So I'm going to click on EZU and I can see it's in C users trainer 1 Anaconda 3 envs and then E4 EZU. So that's my cheat. When I forget where the virtual environment is, I can come in here and do a little clicking fun. And again, when I click on E4 EZU, you can come down here in the lower right and see where those files are. Okay? Okay. Are we done with the virtual end for EZU? No, it doesn't have Django installed in it yet. So let's go to the right-hand side of the bar that has the name for E4 EZU and give it a click. And give a click and pick Open Terminal. Okay, and you can see that E4 EZU virtual env is activated already. And so let's just do some things at the conda command line. So we could say conda space env space list, and it will list the virtual environments, and we can say EZU. If we want to know what packages are in the current virtual env, we can say conda list, and it gives us a list of the packages that are in the current active virtual env. Okay, and we don't see that Django's installed. So let's install it with pip. Type pip space install space Django with a capital D, Django, and then tilde equals, okay, about equal, 3.1. And that's going to give us the newest version of Django 3.1 that they have. So let's press enter. And it's installing. And that's it. So just to make sure we know that it's properly installed, let's type conda list. And there it is. It's Django 3.1.6, right? So in the current semester, which is the spring of 2021, we're using Python 3.8 and Django 3.1. When we build this, whatever subversion of Django 3.1 we get, we'll take. I think the last time I did it, I got 3.1.5. Today I got 3.1.6. For our purposes, all of these 3.1s are probably going to be just fine. In terms of the version of Python that we have, we've got 3.8.5. That's good. When 3.8.6 comes out, if we had regenerated this in the current semester, any 3.8 version of Python's fine, and any 3.1 version of Django is going to be fine for EZU. Okay, so let's type exit and get out of this. Okay. Remember that even though we've installed Django, because we haven't done it with the graphical part of Anaconda Navigator, it doesn't show up here. But of course, as we saw from the commands that we ran when we were at the command line, we're just fine. Okay, Django is installed. That's great. Okay, so let's close Anaconda Navigator. Okay. And actually, I'm going to pause because we did more than close Anaconda Navigator. We closed the whole virtual machine. So while I'm getting that revived, I'm going to pause you. Hang on. Okay, I'm back. I undid that. So I wanted to close Anaconda Navigator right there. There it goes. Sometimes these virtual machines are more trouble than they're worth. So we've created a virtual end for EZU and we're ready to go. Now we need to establish the EZU project. Okay, that looks good. Let's do that. So we're going to do that two ways. The project itself we're going to create with we're going to create at the command line, and then we're going to configure it using Pycharm. Okay, let's do that. Now, how do we work at the command line in Windows 10? Well, let's go to the start icon and click that. And we come to, we can see that we have a folder of apps for Anaconda 3 64-bit. Let's open that. And I want to go to the Anaconda prompt. I don't use PowerShell. I use normal command line things. So I go to Anaconda prompt, and that's going to pop up a window for us. Okay, and you can see that it has already activated the base virtual env. Again, that's not the one we want. We want the one that we just created. So let's do that first. So let's just say type in conda list. Okay, and we'll see all the packages that are in base. We don't want that. Okay. I don't know why that disappeared. It disappeared on me. So let's type in conda space env space list. And here are the virtual environments. And of course, the one we want to use is E4EZU, right? So we type in conda space activate space E4EZU. And we can see over on the left side in the parens that we have EZU. Okay, so what are we going to do next? Well, we are going to navigate to the directory where we're going to have our project. Okay, and how do you find the directory? Well, if I type in dir, I'll see the directories under my user ID, and I can see that there is one called Django course projects. That's right where I put it. So now I need to change to that directory. So I'm going to change to cd Django course projects. Okay, and you can see in the prompt that I'm there. And I'm going to type in a dir to see what the directories are. And I've got one for the Django Girls tutorial. All that stuff looks fine. So now what I need to do is I need to create a new Django project with all the basic files and directories and all that kind of stuff here. And one of the things I want to point out is in the Django Girls tutorial, they tried very hard to create a directory structure where the top level directory was called Django Girls, and then that internal directory that held your settings and some other kind of important files that applied to the whole project, that had a different name. It was called My Site. That's not the way people typically do it in Django. So if we create this like everybody else does, the top level directory and then the internal directory that holds the settings and other kind of metadata related files, that's going to have the same name. Okay, so I'll just create a practice one here, and don't do this one. Okay, just kind of watch and I'll illustrate. So let me create a project called Waldo. So I'm going to type in Django -admin, and I'm going to say I want to create start project, all one word. I'll just call it Waldo. Okay. And then I'm going to do a dir to see what directories I have. And I have a Waldo directory. Okay. And let's just go look at what's in it. So instead of trying to navigate all this, at the command line. I'm just going to open the File Explorer, okay, and I'm going to go to where those projects are. And I see there's a Waldo. So let's open up that. And you'll see that within the Waldo project, there's another directory, Waldo, and that has the settings and the WSGI and the URL and all that kind of stuff. So that's what was called my site in the Django Girls project. Okay, so when we followed the instructions from the Django Girls people, and we created that project that had a different name for the overall enclosing directory from the internal sub directory that held the settings. That was atypical. We had to work hard to do that. You can see now that it's pretty easy to create a new project. Okay, so I'm going to put this, well, I'm going to close that. So I'm still in this directory that's going to hold all of my Django course projects. Let's create another one. One that has the right naming scheme for me. So the naming scheme for this project is going to be my surname, my given name, and I'm going to just call it EZU. So for me, it's going to be trainer underscore Kevin underscore EZU, all lowercase. So let's create that. So I'm going to say Django -admin, and I'm going to say trainer underscore Kevin underscore EZU. That's all it's called, EZU. And I'm going to press enter. And oh, I forgot to tell it to start project. It's not going to do it if I don't do it the way. I beg I beg your pardon. Okay, let's say Django -admin start project, and now the name of the project, trainer Kevin EZU. Okay, and note when you look at the prompt that I'm in the overall directory that's holding all my projects. And then I type the command line to create the project within it. So Django admin start project trainer Kevin EZU, and then enter. What happened to my enter? We're having a little bit of a problem with my virtual machine. There it is. Okay. Again, these virtual machines are sometimes getting their attention is a little bit harder than you would on a typical Windows computer. Okay, and let's type in a dir and see what's in here. And you can see that I've got the directory trainer Kevin EZU. Okay, that's good. So I've got the project. Let's I'm going to exit this command line because I'm not going to have to do anything else in that. And I'm going to open my File Explorer. Okay. And where was this? I think this was in my C drive under Users, under Trainer 1, under Django Course Projects. And then I've got trainer Kevin EZU. That's it. That's my project. And if I double click on this, you can see I have a sub directory inside, okay, and with the same name. If I open that up, that's got the settings. Okay, and that may seem a little odd or alien because I know that's not the convention that we followed on the Django Girls project, but that was a choice of the Django Girls folks. And this file naming scheme is what most people do. Admittedly, it's a little confusing because you have a directory inside of another one and they both have the same name. But I can tell you from experience that you get used to it, and that's pretty good. Okay, so this is the right naming scheme. This has the right subdirectories and files. All that's good. So let's close the File Explorer. All right. And the next thing we're going to do is we're going to configure the project in Pycharm. So I'm going to open up Pycharm. And Pycharm's a bit of a slow starter too. All right. Okay, that's open. Now it goes to the last project that I was on, and this is sort of interesting. Pycharm, the user interface is slightly different on Windows than on the Mac. On the Mac, when you open up Pycharm, it gives you a choice of things that you want to open. On Windows, when you open Pycharm, it just goes right to the last project that you had. So we're going to want to go to the menu and click on File, and then, File Open. And we want to find our way to our project. And I've got Django course projects here. Then I've got Trainer Kevin EZU. That's it. I just want to highlight it and click OK. And do I want this window? Yes, I do. I don't want to look at both of them at the same time. All right, that looks good. That definitely looks good. Okay, and so we can see the overall and closing directory. In my case, it's called Trainer Kevin EZU, and then there is a subdirectory here, Trainer Kevin EZU, and it's the inner one that has the settings .py, and it also has the WSGI, which is not something that we do something with now, but is something that you often will make adjustments to when you do deployment. Okay, so we've got all that here. Okay, now is it ready to work with? No, probably not. It probably hasn't got a virtual environment and thus Python interpreter associated with it yet. So let's just go look. Let's go up to the menu, click on File, Settings. Okay, and that'll pop up. And then let's go down to the project entry and open that up and click on Python interpreter. And it's kind of a nice interpreter, but it's not our virtual environment. So what do we need to do? Well, we click on the drop down here, see if it offers a virtual environment, and it doesn't. Okay, so that means we're going to have to go over to the right further and click on the gear and say we want to add another virtual environment. Okay, and then over on the left side, we want to pick Conda environment. Okay, and then in the middle, we want to pick radio button for existing environment. Okay. And it's already pointing to the right environment, but I just want to go out and look. Let's say that that wasn't pointing to the Python executable under our E4 EZU virtual env. How would I find it? Well, I would click here. Okay, I have to remember where I put them. And you remember when we were back in Anaconda Navigator, I showed you how to cheat and find out where it's putting the files. But the files we could see then were in C users, trainer 1, my ID, Anaconda 3 envs, okay, and E4 EZU. So let's just go out and look. Let's pretend that wasn't properly set. Okay, well, how would I find my way? Well, I'd find my way to users, okay, and then my ID, okay, and then Anaconda 3, and then envs for environments, and then I'd find the directory for the virtual env that I want, E4 EZU. And I'm not done yet. I'm going to open that and I'm going to go down to the bottom and I want to click on python.exe. Now this is a shortcut file that points to the proper Python interpreter, which is somewhere inside this virtual environment. Okay, but this is the one. This is the one to point to, and then I click OK. Okay, and something that I think is polite to yourself to do is to click the box here. It says make available to all projects. Okay, and then we can click on OK. Now this should populate with the right stuff. Okay, the Django that we have is 3.1.6. That's right. And the Python that we have in here is 3.8.5. That's what we just set up. So that's perfect. Okay. So are we done? No, we've only done half the job. The other one is to go down here to languages and frameworks. Okay. And then that expanded. Now I have to pick Django. Okay. And let's see if this is properly set. One is that the radio button, enable Django support, has to be set, and that was. It has to be pointing to your outside directory, and this is the one, trainer Kevin EZU. Yeah, that's good. Okay. If it wasn't, then we would have to go find it and point to it, right? In this case, it's already being pointed to, so I don't have to do it. And then the settings, you need to point to settings at .py within the sub directory. And remember that's not being called my site now. That was just kind of a crutch thing that they did in the Django Girls tutorial. But so the inner directory has the same name, and then within that we're pointing to settings.py. And again, if you didn't see this here, you'd have to go search for it, right? Like that. Okay, and the other thing that should be set is it should be pointing to manage.py, which is the generated managing environment for our project. And that should be just inside of our project. And there it is. So trainer Kevin EZU manage.py. Okay, that seems to be working great. So yes, it configured the right way for Django. Will it always be? No. Sometimes you come in here after you've created a new project and it's hard to find your way to the virtual environment, and you have to set up all these things yourself. Why that is, I can't explain, but that's true. Okay, so now we're configured. It should keep the configuration for the rest of the time that we're working with EZU, which would be weeks and weeks and weeks. So let's test um, uh, running the server, which we come to call the development server. Now, in the Mac version, you can run a special tool which is called the manage .py kind of console tool, and to do that you can click up here in the menu, go to tools, and then run manage .py task. Now I just want to show that this is broken on the Windows version right now. So when you do that and you run it, you get errors. It can't find it can't find the package that helps it to interface with the database. So for Windows and the current semester, we're not using this. And this has been broken for some time. And I apologize for that, but it is. So we don't use that tool. That's a convenience kind of tool. What that tool allows you to do is to not have to type in Python space manage.py into the terminal every time you want to run a command for manage.py. Okay, it's a convenience kind of a tool. So instead, we're going to open the terminal down here, and when we click on this, it should be already set up. It should have activated the right virtual environment, E for EZU, and it should have put us in the outer directory that we want, okay, trainer Kevin EZU. And when we want to run a manage.py command, we just have to type in Python space manage.py space, and then the command run server. All right, so that's it. And now we can click on the link, and it opens the browser, and we can see that we've got a test page. So we were able to start the server again over time, when we realized that you could start a production server or a development server. This server that we start with manage.py is called the development server. Okay, so we started that. Okay, and how do we stop it? Well, right here in the terminal window, you can see the log entries for the server. Okay, you click in the terminal window, and you press Control C, and it will stop the server. Okay, and now if you want to do some other things in your console, in your terminal console, you can do them. Okay, so let's just take a look at how much we've done so far of what we promised. We've established our EZU project. Okay, we're able to build the project directory structure from the command line, and we were able to configure it in Pycharm. That worked fine. Now we're ready to create a tester super user with manage.py. Okay, let's do that. Okay, so let's say that we came in here and we didn't have this console. You can close the console. I think you can close the console by typing exit. Yep, it goes away. So how do we get a new terminal console? Just go down here and click on terminal. And how do we run a manage.py command? Well, Python manage.py. And the one we want to run now that you'll remember from the Django Girls tutorial is create super user, all one word. Create super user. Enter. Okay. Oh, and what has happened? Well, we have not really created a database yet. Okay. And we're not ready for that. I'd like to pretend that I saw this coming, but I actually forgot it. So let's just say, what are we going to do? Well, the first thing that we're going to type in is make migrations. Okay, so how do we do that? Well, we have to do that with manage.py. So let's do Python manage.py make migrations, all one word. Okay, it's no changes detected. Okay, that's fine. And then the next thing we have to do is migrate. So Python. Now, it gets hard to keep typing things in. If you find the up arrow on your keyboard, you should be able to press up arrow and get the last thing you type. If you press up arrow again, you'll get the one before that. If you press it down arrow, you'll go down. So when I get sick of typing here, I just press the up arrow and then I backspace over the command. And the command I want this time is migrate and then enter. And now it does the migration for the database. Okay, so that's good. So let's try create super user now. And again, I'm just going to use the up arrow. And I'm going to backspace over the command and try create super user. Enter. And it wants to know the username. And I'm going to call that tester, T-E-S-T-E-R, enter. And the email address, you can put one in or not. Right now I'm not going to do it. And the password is left paren lowercase secret, S-E-C-R-E-T, right paren. Okay, and then again, left paren, all lowercase secret, S-E-C-R-E-T, right paren. Okay. And it says the password is too similar to the username. I have no idea because those two things are not similar at all. But we're going to say Y enter, and it created a super user successfully. Okay, good. So let's do this. Let's go and set up SQLite to look at the database from here. Okay. Does that look good? I think it does. So I just want to look at this. No. Alrighty. Okay. Let's go out in the file manager. Let's look at our project again. Again, mine's in the C drive under users, trainer one, Django course projects, trainer Kevin EZU. Okay, and it's something I didn't see in Pycharm is, yes, we do have the DB file there. So I am going to be able to link that up. I don't know if Pycharm just hasn't refreshed the page. Let's try this. Let's right click on the name of the project. Yeah. Right click, and then is there something to refresh? Reload. Reload from disk. Let's try that. Yeah. Okay. So now you can see when we ran that migrate, it created db.sqlite3. Okay. That's the that's the file that has the database in it. Okay, so I'm just going to close Pycharm because that's all I'm going to show you there. And I'm going to close this uh, File Explorer. And let's go open up Sqlite Studio from our shortcut. Double click on that. Okay, and then we've got the databases, but we want a new database. Okay, I don't know why that one's just called DB. Let's see if I can. Let's go and edit the database. And yeah, down here it's called DB. That's the name. So this was Django Girls DB. Okay. Yeah, no, that's going to have the right name. And this, so in this left panel, right click, pick database, add a database. Okay. And let's call this one EZU DB. Okay. All right. And let's click on the file folder, open it, and go look for it. And so let's look on the local disk. Okay, users, trainer 1, Django course projects, trainer Kevin EZU. There it is, DB. Okay, highlight and click open. Okay, and it changes the name here. So you have to fill out the name field after you select the file. So I'm just going to call this EZUDB and test the connection. Okay, we can do that. It got the green check. Okay. Okay, now here's EZUDB. Double click on that. Okay. And you'll notice that we don't have any, we didn't create an app yet, right? So to do that, we would have to do a start app using manage.py. But we do have, can see all the tables, and the one that we want to go look at is auth user. That's the user table that belongs to the auth application. So let's double click that, and that opens. Okay, and we see the structure of the table again. And then let's click on the data tab. And here, if we extend this window a little bit, why this doesn't want to cooperate is beyond me. But we can see that now we've got the tester user again. Okay, and I didn't put the first name and the last name and all that stuff in there. I just called it tester, so I wasn't really fancy with that, but I got the user in. Okay, so whenever you want to see what's in your database, you can cheat instead of, I guess we could have gone to the admin app and started that and looked for users and all that kind of stuff. But instead of that, one way to cheat is just go to this Sqlite Studio and look at what's in the database. And we're going to do that extensively as we work with the EZU project. And you'll probably want to do that with your final project as well. Okay, so we can close this. And okay, I closed the whole virtual machine again. Sorry about that. So we found the database entry for tester, and that's fine. So we're ready to go. Okay, this is the we've done all the things that we need to get started, and we've done them in a Windows context. The rest of the tutorials for EZU are going to be um, all done on my Mac. Okay, but the difference is in how to interact with the tools on Windows should be captured in the video that you just played. So, having said that, I'm going to say bye and I'll see you next time. Bye bye.